Bad ideas, good stories. Number 43, January 3rd, 2022.
That seems like it's it.
Yeah.
I'm Dusty.
I'm Pat.
And, that's nothing related to this.
And neither of us are revved on Red Bull right now. I've got water, maybe a bit of residual pre-workout in my system. But
iced tea.
Iced tea, yeah. So happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's
to everybody. This will probably come out February, maybe in time for Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah, and you're going to hear 2/3 of it. The rest of it's going to be weird, staticky noise.
All of that goes to
Apologies
Russ.
on the last one.
Russ.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, but yeah.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
Fucked,
we're doing our best. We're not. We aren't professionals.
I find out when you guys find out.
True enough, eh?
You know what I mean?
You check that new posting?
When I listen to it, then I'm like, oh yeah, that did sound fucked, didn't it?
Creek.
I do sound like
all
a
right,
dummy,
there.
don't I?
Now I'm not looking right through the microphone at you.
Down the barrel of the mic. Yeah, man. So it's been about a month since we've seen each other, I guess. I'm gonna start off real light.
It might get heavy. I don't know.
No, I'm not at all. It sucks right off the bat. Since I seen you last year, like we lost a friend of ours, Brando, to suicide, which is, extra depressing this fucking time of year. And then last Monday, actually, my sister-in-law passed away, which was my brother's widow. So that has not been a real excellent Christmas time season for me.
Yeah, it's a brutal one, man. Suicides are a tough one.
Yeah.
One of my issues, and this is, I don't know, maybe I'm callous. God forbid I'm callous, or God forbid I have politically incorrect opinions on things. But life is rough, and part of life is that we should struggle our best to get through those hard times, no matter what. Because our lives aren't only our own lives, and survivors of friends and family that commit suicide know this better than anybody else. Our lives are not our own lives, because his kid forever is going to remember Christmas associated with dad's suicide.
Yeah.
And, our lives also belong to the people around us. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Like, your community is important. And when you make the executive decision to remove yourself from reality, I guess that's your right. Cool. I'm not going to take that away from you. But I would hope that you would consider the effect of what you're doing on other people. Because I know a lot of people this Christmas who are really in the dumps because of their friend being lost. I wasn't as close to him as some other people. We've had our issues in the past, but I liked him well enough. As much as I like anybody.
Well, yeah. Not true. Well, and what's funny is almost everybody who knew Brendo had a story of the first time I met him, it was a punch in the face, or
we had words.
Someone was throwing down some stairs or something like that, so it's like, that was him. But
and it's a tough one.
So it's not been the funnest holiday season.
Well, and I think it's pretty common. It's our community. Maybe it's everybody's community that came up in the underground. That as you get older, you lose friends to health issues, to drug addiction, to overdoses, to and sometimes suicide. It's just part of the culture that I grew up in. That this is just regular, man. Like, I've got a list of 15 to probably closer to 20 people now that are gone due to lifestyle choices, and untreated mental health stuff, all of that. And they were too stubborn to get help, and they didn't want to really look at options. They were in a desolate place, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But I kind of think that the underground's a bit of a magnet for that personality that doesn't fit into regular society, and that psychology follows that personality. At least to me, I think that they almost go hand in hand. You'll find the misfits. You'll find the people that are a little wacky morality-wise. You'll find the people that society is rejected in the underground scene, whether it's punk or hardcore or whatever. Right?
Well, and you know what? Now that you're saying that too, a lot of them maybe not have the same support systems that everybody else has, because that's why they're in these places in the first place.
These places become the support system.
Yeah.
The underground scene, in a lot of ways, saved my life, and also took a chunk of it. I was lucky enough that I really listened to a lot of straight edge hardcore through most of my really depressed hard times that dragged me out of these places where, even when I was smoking speed every day, I still listened to straight edge hardcore that said, there is a better way. You know that, you can get out of this if you just put your mind to it. And when I was getting sober, I listened to a ton of straight edge hardcore, and now I listen to more Oi, obviously, because it's a little more uplifting, and you're part of a community, and you'll never walk alone, and all of that stuff. But I think that a lot of people, like if they're into G.G. Allen, you know, the real, you know, Hank the Third, there's a lot of really pro get fucked up and forget about it.
Yeah.
Put beer on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the community that's really into just drink your pain away. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I guess that works for some people. That's where they're at, you know.
Or well, it seems to not though.
Well,
seems lots of people with crippling lifelong addictions,
Yeah.
issues, but oh well. But yeah, so that's been the bulk of what's been occupying my mind like the last 2 weeks is that, and then Chantel passing, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not fucking. It hasn't been. Yeah, it's been hard to not be just kind of fucking bummed out.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like that was a New Year's. They had that was 2 days ago that they had his memorial gig, and Savage Henry played, and Herd of Wasters, I think, and Grand Lodge at Black Cat.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about going, but I really didn't want to be in that negative zone. I don't want to be around a bunch of people that are really getting fucked up to celebrate someone whose life was lost because he was getting fucked up. But I heard that they were taking donations for his family. So I stopped by and I gave a chunk of cash, you know, to his ex-wife and his kid. And I dropped off a bunch of the DSR magazine Spearhead, which is just advocating a more positive life. Like you can get through whatever you're going through. Just work at it, fight for it, right? And it's kind of cool because that's something that I've been doing over the holidays. We were able to get 500 copies of Spearhead printed. We were able to give them away to some people. We've got like 17 orders all around the world for it. Sweden, London, Germany, Washington, Calgary, BC. So that's cool that's taking off. And that's kind of why I really wanted to do a podcast in the first place. I'm a propagandist, you know.
I got my shit I want to get out there.
A little bit, right? And I've been wondering lately, like, why do people do podcasts? Mm-hmm. Like, really, like, I've listened to some other podcasts, local and not so local. You know, obviously everybody knows Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, he started just kind of a guy talking shit, but now he's actually got a fairly decent following, that guy. No, but he's got real discussions going on of substantial shit, and not everybody agrees with it, but that's what happens with real discussions, is not everybody's going to agree with you. And but I've also listened to a couple local ones where I'm like wondering, why the fuck are you doing a podcast at all? Like, really?
Was it us? Was that the one you were listening to?
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
I heard it, and I was like, wait, why do you guys keep doing this?
I don't want to throw anybody specifically under the bus, but there is this one, and there's these two young ladies, and I think they're from a small town just outside Saskatoon or around here somewhere. And I listened to 2 or 3 of their podcasts, and one of them was specifically dedicated to shit-talking her ex-boyfriend. Literally, like his performance in bed, his lack of athletics, his lifestyle choices, an entire half hour.
It's an interesting one. He can't slam dunk.
Yeah,
his dick don't work.
Kinda, yeah. These 3 girls sitting around a microphone, shit talking this guy, and I'm like, this is worthy to be put out to the.
See, that's interesting because that's been like the opposite of what I wanted to do with this. Like, I'm like, I want to, talk about personal shit or whatever, but I don't want to air nobody's fucking laundry or shit talk nobody.
I think we've done pretty good to
try not to
use general. I know a guy. I know
generally
a person.
too. Yeah, in my life, I'm trying not to shit talk people. So hopefully that's reflective in this.
So I really wonder what people's motivations behind other people. I know what my motivations are, but I don't know what other people's motivations to do a podcast are. You know what I mean? Like, I play in a band. I write lyrics all the time. I'm a poet. I got lots of opinions. This is just another avenue for me to vent, right? Yeah. But I don't understand. I think there might be a culture of people that are just into being a podcaster.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't really understand that.
Oh.
because
it's kind of a different medium though, right? Like,
yeah.
It's something you can enjoy with video or without and still usually get the similar level of enjoyment out of it, which is like you can't really do that with TV, And radio, the radio talk has been something that's been popular for a long time. So this is just like, to me, it feels like it's almost like that, just on a more personal level, because it's with there being so many of them, you can find ones that are really, really niche and really appeal to whatever the fuck it is you're into, and then it feels like it's almost like a custom-made little conversation for you.
I guess there's like the true crime stuff.
Yeah, right.
There's culture stuff.
There's lots of those. There are some people that are, like you said, like maybe they just want to build their brand. They're in lots of different things, and they want a place where they can talk about all their fucking different artistic endeavors or shit they're working on or upcoming events and kind of plug their stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a.
Well, I look at it as underground radio.
Yeah, man, that's kind of how it feels, right?
Yeah, and I love it because it's like uncensored. You could say whatever you want as long as nobody like rats you out for saying something bad, I guess. Like, I don't know what, well, I know what would get you kicked off, but like, depending on the platforms you're using, you could say pretty much whatever you want. It can be politically incorrect still. Nobody's coming down the chute to shut you down. Or you can be very progressive if you want. You can be just talking about anything you want, and nobody's shutting it down yet. And I like that. It's kind of like
and I
a
think
last
because
best.
people are still like just viewing it broadly as entertainment. You know, even if you're learning something from it, you know, like the true crime ones, for example, maybe you're learning something about those. I think people are still, well, no, I shouldn't say that. There's going to be fanatics about anything that get on somebody's podcast. Like, no, you're getting the real truth from them. But I think
Right here.
to the most
Right
part,
here.
exactly.
This face.
If you know podcast is attached to it, you're kind of like, oh, it's just entertainment then.
It's
in my head.
It's opinions.
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah, this is
opinions.
It's going to be somebody's doing a little show, or they got some story they want to tell, or they just want to vent about something for fucking 2 hours, or
That opinion element is, I think, very important when we talk about like guys like Joe Rogan, who are really like, I was on Instagram and one of his posts went by, and it was something like 2 million likes on that thing.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck, that's an influential man, you know. And one of my other favorite podcaster comedian guys is Russell Brand. You want to talk yin and yang, and
He's
it's funny.
hilarious,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, because I really agree with a lot of what Russell Brand says, but then Joe Rogan says some things that make sense to me. And Russell Brand has 4 million subscribers to his channel, and I'm like, fuck, these are influential people, but people forget that it's just a podcast.
Yeah,
It's
and
opinions.
they're comedians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when they started
So are
out
we.
doing things, you know what I mean? Though, like that was their job. Like Joe Rogan, I was an actor, I was on this and that. Yeah, but it was because you were a comedian, you were doing comedy, and you got into that. Russell Brand, same thing. And it's like, take that with as much value as that should have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if comedians should be your go-to for like everything you need to know about the world. But if you want an interesting opinion, by all means, you know. But if that's going to be what forms it, it's kind of like, you know, these are people generally that are like, you're trying to get somebody to fucking laugh or engage in some way. So it's not even
Yes.
necessarily that it's your opinion. You might just be telling a story. And Joe Rogan does that lots too, where he's like, well, no, I'm just saying. I'm just like what if it's like this? This
Yeah.
is my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there like that, right? Because that's what I think lots of comedians do. It's like you make it feel personal, but you also make it so it's like anybody can attach themselves to it. That's
See, and I think
otherwise
that's
it makes it
I
more
think
accessible.
that's where some of the danger lies, especially with people with huge platforms, is that celebrity has almost replaced aristocracy in America. You know, where like if Scarlett Johansson comes on and tells you something that needs to happen, everybody's like, yes, she said it, so we have to listen. She was in Spider-Man or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And like any person that's in a famous movie can pull that out of their ass and just have an opinion, and it's taken seriously because they're a celebrity.
Well, and what's insane is like those people have their jobs because they're really good at pretending to be somebody they're not.
They're
You know
professional
what
liars.
I mean? Like, yeah, that's what you do. You're gonna be able to put a face on, make it look like you're somebody you're not. Like have a
Yeah.
whole little fucking the ones that are really, really good, you give them awards for. You can't even tell. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, I didn't even know what the fuck he looked or sounded like from all of his roles. Right? If I see him at an award show, and I'm like, who's this fucking guy?
That's your
you know
real
what I mean?
accent?
But then it's like, but that's who you should go to for the truth. Then someone
Yeah.
who's perfected lines. That
That's a
doesn't
very
make
good
any
point.
sense,
That's a really good
guys.
point. I
Yeah.
remember thinking about that with everybody talking about Reagan's policies, Ronald Reagan's policies. I'm like, dude was an actor,
Yep.
and he was a puppet being, you know, marionetted around by the real handlers behind the scene. Yeah,
Yeah, the guys that get to stay there for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah,
and just
the heads
stay
of the CIA don't change that
in-
much.
In the fucking years.
Yeah, and that's a weird one because I see a lot of celebrities getting more and more clout, while people that are actually like educated individuals are boring and they're ugly and they're unimportant to the mass public, so they don't get any clout. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and many times, as soon as there's like a thing to have an opinion on in public, if there's someone who's going to claim to be a specialist on it, if someone can make even a nickel arguing the other side and then trying to smear them, they'll do that.
Yeah, the money element.
It doesn't matter if there's any logic or anything. If they can sell a handful of T-shirts, they'll figure out how to print the T-shirts and run them. You know what I mean?
so yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading on, I guess, virtue and authority, and like where once upon a time, maybe a very, very long time ago, we put emphasis on the virtuous. Right? On like, we would say we want our nation led by the most virtuous and ethical and most in touch with like common decency and morality. And then there's been a reversal of that in contemporary times where as long as you're a celebrity and you have enough money, you can make the rules. You can elect a president who grabs pussies. He's one of the lowest, man, that guy's one of the lowest class individuals I've ever heard speak or seen behave. But people think he's high class because he's got billions of dollars, or he says he does, whatever. Yeah.
He's created the illusion of wealth.
But they've replaced money with class. Yeah. And that's such a fucking...
And intelligence.
Yeah.
You
don't need
I went
intelligence.
to the best schools. Okay, cool. Did you do well?
Yeah.
Were you an excellent student? You know what I mean? Because you went there, that's enough. Like, all right.
Or was your college law and accounting? Which are just like the languages of control in the colonial society? Or did you actually study and do well in ethics and morality and like philosophy? Because like the people that are like, I guess, the most ethical don't want to participate in a broken system. And the system laughs at them. When once upon a time they would say, these should be the people running the nation. But this system's been set up to keep, I guess... lunatics in charge of the asylum, I guess. Yeah. And it's almost like I see an inversion of this stuff happening. But back to the celebrities. Anybody could be a celebrity. If you're a professional liar, you know, that's Hollywood. I think Hollywood would be so fucked to live in, man. I do. Because everybody is just like weaseling to become famous. Yeah. You know, your waitress at the at the coffee shop, she's like, I'm an actress or I'm a screenwriter. And I'm like, I've met a couple Hollywood people and they were very I, me, and mine oriented.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that what can you do for me kind of thing. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Not me. I got no interactions with any Hollywood people, I don't think.
Yeah, it's weird. I've met a couple porn stars and a couple celebrities, you know. Musicians are also... Okay, perfect example is being a small-town punk rock guy and you meet somebody from a relatively big band. Just the attitude change, you know? Like, they're so used to people blowing smoke up their ass. They're like, yeah, whatever, dude. And I'm like, you're a guitar player. I know, like... 15 that are better than you. You do not impress me just because you have however many albums sold or Instagram followers. Yeah. It's weird times. Weird times.
Yeah, true that.
So why are you doing a podcast? What do you decide? What's...
Well, honestly, it's like, well, I like hanging out with you. And
why? I think you're one of the three left.
Well, it kind of keeps me honest. It's like I can come here and just fucking talk with you about whatever we feel like bullshitting about, or if there's something I am actually working on, we got stuff going on with the band, or I'm actually making an effort at stand up, you know, like it's a good place for me to come and like fucking talk about it and try shit out on you. You know?
If I'm laughing,
it's just the last little while. It's like there's no I haven't had much motivation for anything outside of just minimal existence.
Yeah. When you get bumped down to that survival level, you know.
That's what it's felt like the last like fucking 2 months. But
really, it's been that rough.
It's because it was 2 months ago that my sister-in-law went on to into a coma and on life support. So the whole time we've been like, you know, is she coming out of this? And now that she's passed, I mean, it sucks, but it's like, okay,
at least you know where that,
and we know what the kids are going to be doing and how that's all going to fucking work out. So yeah, it's been a very stressful time. Yeah, and then Brenda, we're right in the middle of it. So yeah. It feels better now that it's like I'm kind of through it, and now I'm looking back.
Coming out the other side.
Normality after the fucking holidays and shit too, right?
Yeah, you can always look at that metaphor of, you know, the sun is coming back up and the new year and all of that.
Not feeling like everything's so fucking out of control, you know, when that shit's going on. It's just like, you know, just sit here and go limp and let this car accident happen, and then after it's done,
see how much the damage
my
was.
arms work, do my legs work, you know, and that's kind of where I'm
really
at
good
now.
metaphor.
It's like I feel like, you know, I just got slammed around for the last 2 fucking months, and it's not going to be easier, but at least we know what the fuck's going on. And I mean, it's not better. It's not better to know that she's not going to be around.
Well, you're also a very sensitive guy, and that stuff hits you hard.
Wow, and this has been tough for me too, because it's like they're not just family. Like, this is my dead brother's family, you know. Okay. So it's like his widow was the one who just passed.
So the
it's
kids
like
are
both
like
the
floating
kids
now.
lose, you know,
that's
lose
pretty
both
early.
parents
How
in
old
2
are the
years.
kids?
Logan's 11.
Yeah.
Misha just turned 19 on like last Sunday.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy
2
one.
2 days before. So yeah, it's fucking. It's not, Again, though, but it's I feel better now that at least I kind of can. I felt super anxious, like I couldn't catch my breath for like 2 fucking months, basically, where it was just like, what the fuck's gonna happen with these
what's
kids?
next?
What's going on? What are we gonna do? And it's like, okay, well, worst case scenario was that she was gonna pass, and then she did, and that's what we're dealing with. But at least I can fucking deal with it now.
My brain automatically, whenever I see a crisis happening, goes into the how are we handling the outcome. That's immediately it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm just assuming the worst, and then how do we deal with this from here on in? When COVID shut down our shop for 3 months, and I thought I was going to have 9 people out on the street without jobs, and I'm like trying to make sure that everybody has some money and some work. That was a scary one for me. And I'm like, I just went into, that was the real pressure for me and how to manage and make sure that everybody still got their rent paid and stuff like that. That was a freak out because I was responsible for the guys that work at our shop, right? Yeah. But with death, ideally, hopefully people have their agendas in order, what they would like. Having a plan for when you pass is a good thing, like a will or executive orders.
The tough thing with both of these is like they weren't though. Like it wasn't a long-term illness. I think it was relatively short period of time.
So anybody listening, I definitely advocate write some shit down.
Yeah, let people know what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Whether who should get what, where your stuff should go, all of that. Just send it to the dump or. How do you want your child?
Throw me in the trash.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I'm at.
That's a tough one. Like I've got my mom's, directive, her medical directive already in the safe, and her will is all in there. She has it all set up in case anything happens. Not that anything is, because we had to go through. My aunt passed away, and she had a little bit of that in order, but not enough. Yeah. And there was a lot of scrambling and family drama surrounding, how does the house get separated? Where's everything going? Who gets what, how does the funeral going to work? And all of that stuff. Now, actually, it's funny. My partner, she's looking into going into what's called a death doula. And when people pass away, more often than not, the family isn't prepared for all of the shit they need to deal with.
No.
Not only philosophically, and spiritually and that emotionally, but also just tangibly in the physical world. How do I approach a funeral home? How do I choose if I want cremation or a burial? How can I do this affordably and not get raked over the coals? When my kid's grandfather died on her mom's side, her mom had to suddenly take reins of the funeral arrangements, and they got, a $5,000 price tag. Here you go. Man. Where the hell did that come from, right? Yeah. I just want a cheap coffin and a public burial, but here's $5,000. They don't stop taxing you when you die, right? And God forbid, I don't know how it actually works right now, but whether the debt load of an individual still gets passed on to those that are the next of kin, like if they, let's say, owed for, a huge Visa debt or something like that, or if it just gets erased. Yeah. Because, I don't know, with the coma, what was it, an aneurysm or?
No, it was a lung infection.
Okay.
So they had to induce her.
Yeah. As opposed to a suicide, if you're planning suicide, you could plan to get some of your affairs in order. But if you just get sick, you don't really know, right? Yeah. So.
Yep. But keeps going forward, moving on. And actually, Brendo's thing on New Year's was good for me. Because it was nice to get out and go do something that felt normal.
Yep.
Like even just going to a show and seeing people, and it was like, and everybody was kind of hurting,
Yeah, that's the thing. I walked
you're
into the room and I got hit with the vibe, and I'm like, here's the money, here's the magazines, I'm out. I just don't want to hang out. And my friend from the band Ingravescent Torture, he died, and he overdosed. Again, overdoses are usually more common than intentional suicides. But he overdosed, and I went to his wake, and I just watched everybody getting fucked up on the same shit that got him in the grave. And I'm like, wow, man. Wow. That's the last time I really want to go to a wake and watch everybody get fucked up, you know? And
well, you know what? And honestly, I thought this one might turn into kind of a train wreck, you know? Because I was just like, and all the people I know that are going to be there, I'm like, wow, they always like to party, But it was pretty mellow, actually.
That's good.
Like not just for a Savage Henry show, but just in general. Like, well, because it was different. Everybody's getting a little older, too. Like, I mean...
Well, you'd think so. Yeah, you would hope so. That
just the rage dissipates maybe a little bit.
Yeah, but you get out of rage. What is it? The process of grieving, and then people tend to fall into the self-pity thing.
Yeah.
If they haven't found something to drive towards, they tend to fall into it. And I think that aspirational goal is a good thing. Whatever it is, it could be a hobby, it could be exercise, it could be a business, it could be anything. But I think that aspirational goal is important to say, this is what I'm looking forward to tomorrow, as opposed to, holy shit, yesterday was hard. You know what I mean? Like, yesterday might have been hard, but if tomorrow that I'm looking forward is worth it, then that's going to be, I'm going to keep that as my compass point, my true north, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one that's the thing that's always, for me, super difficult in these things is because you're never thinking about the future or the present right now. It's like, oh, all the things I'm missing, all the things I lost, you know, like, and so, yeah, I've been working on that. I've been trying to do that more, but yeah, that's the fucking struggle. So yeah, it hasn't had me a lot of motivation for like getting done trying to sell shrimps all day, and then hey, I'm gonna try to make some people laugh tonight. And I'm just
yeah.
No.
You could do that deadpan. Are you doing a lot of stand-up?
I've not, no.
Yeah.
Not in 2 months, basically.
Not a lot of events going on, or?
It still seems to be relatively steady. I just I have no drive to. I get home, think about it, and I'm like, well, you know, I got a half hour before I can get down there, and fuck it. I'll feel like doing it when I feel like doing it, but just not right now.
What was it the other day? We got up, had our coffee. I'm like, all right, looks like I got a shovel to walk and go to the gym, shovel my mom's walk. Yeah. I'm like, it's not easy. It sucks, especially it's like minus 25. You know, it's fucking ridiculous, and but it's necessary. No. What is necessary often isn't easy, and same thing with enduring shitty circumstances, going through breakups or whatever. You know, yeah, being a dad sucks sometimes, and you know, going to the gym regardless of whether I want to or not, and being vegan because I think it's the right thing to do. None of these are easy things. Yeah. It would be super easy to just get a bag full of fucking dope, put it up my nose, and disappear into nothing, you know? And that's the easy path that I don't want to fucking... I've done it for a long time. I was right in it for a long time, and now I realize that, like, I have an obligation to bigger things, whether it's my family or my future or whatever, or leaving something to... you know, somebody other than myself, being my daughter, you know, I think that's an important one. Getting a mortgage was something that was like, yay, at least I have a mortgage, and someday the house will be paid off, and that's something I can pass to my daughter if I'm not around. Little things like that. Case in point, I read this book called Undying Glory by Tom Billinge. It's on here, a camera that isn't there. I'm holding it up for a camera that we don't have anymore. There's this author I follow, and his name's Tom Billinge, and he's wrote this book called Undying Glory. And what he does is he goes through Greek mythology, and he's got a theory of a common solar path, is what he calls it. It's the solar path towards the sun and light. And he basically goes through all these Greek myths, and at the end of every chapter of a Greek myth, he tells you the meaning behind the myth and how that goes towards heroic virtue. And it's pretty neat. And I started following Tom Billinge because he also has an organization called War Yoga. And War Yoga is Hindu wrestling exercise. Like, he uses the maces and the pins, like the rolling pin kind of things, and like Hindu push-ups, and he incorporates his exercise program with spirituality, and it's called War Yoga, and it's like grappling, and it's really cool, and that's what got me into it. So then I found out he had a book out called Undying Glory, so I looked it up, and then it's kind of cool because the publisher of this book, which is Sanctus Europa Press, and him in War Yoga put together this solar challenge for 2022, where you can sign up, you join you get a little app on your phone, and it's a bunch of people that are kind of, it's funny because it's a lot like our DSR program. Like, you dedicate the next year to trying to wake up at dawn, which is easy right now. It's fucking 9 a.m.
Wake up with the sun. You're like, perfect time to be living in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, 100%. But when the summer comes around at 4 a.m., it might be less than perfect. But you wake up with the sun, you do a little bit of a sunrise, like, ritual, whatever you want to do, and you dedicate to exercising a few times a week. You try and work on your flexibility. You kind of abstain. You're supposed to abstain from a few things. You abstain from, like, intoxicants. You're supposed to abstain from video games. You're supposed to abstain from, I think there's porn. Yeah, like, probably, I think it's masturbation, what they're really getting at. I don't think it's just watching porn. Because
you're not allowed to buy any sort of lubricants.
Yeah, exactly. Give up the hand lotions.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that they hope to get people on was a study of a pre-colonial or a spiritual tradition and learning the language of a tradition, right? And I'm really into Zen and Buddhism and shit like that. So I kind of am interested in maybe trying to pick up some Japanese, which would be a big one for me. Because to me, the ones that are the most difficult would be checking my diet and learning a new language, because my neural pathways as far as language are pretty hardwired. It's not a lot of open, like, teach me new things, right? Yeah, so I think Japanese might be the language that I want to learn in the next little while. But this Undying Glory book. It's relatively affordable on Amazon. It's super easy read, big text, long spacing. Plus, he just released War Yoga, which came out January 1st on Amazon. So if you want to check out either of those, I suggest it. Yeah, and so I've been reading those, and it's pretty cool stuff. At the end of the book, he gives you literally basically a program that a person can work if they want to follow the Greek mythology path towards heroism in their life, right?
Oh,
and
shit.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of that idea.
Why are we doing more of that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I've been watching lots of Game of Thrones lately.
Okay,
and like way more people just living like that. Just I'm gonna fucking carry a sword and.
Well, it's a metaphor. You're not really like going out and like attacking.
I know,
things,
but no, I'm talking literally. I want to see more of that. We live in this very advanced time technologically. You can kind of live however you want, right? Why are we not getting more ridiculous with it? Why are we just getting fucking all into it?
Release more monsters on the street.
I know I'm not.
Breed
I'm
huge
lazy.
Cats and alligators, and just put them on the streets, and you have to survive. And then heroes will develop.
I'm gonna do skateboard tricks off them.
Yeah,
yeah. I got sweatpants on right now. Actually, I'm kind of getting stoked about doing some snowbirding this snowbirding season.
That's right.
Snow is dumping outside disgustingly, but that's good for snowboarding. And I didn't do hardly twice. I think I went out last year, and that's a depressing amount for me. So I'm trying to get stoked on it. I'm starting doing squats. That's
like weighted.
No, just body squats.
Okay,
just body weight squats.
For getting used to going out.
For flexibility and for that, explosive leg shit. Because it's like the first time I go snowboarding every year, if I haven't done anything, it's just the calves and the feet and the thighs, everything just cramps up, and it's like gotta crank at least a good week's worth of squats in before you get going. And then I'm usually fine.
Some buddies of mine and myself were bouncing around an idea like the guitarist and the bass player in Standard Bearer are pretty serious skaters, actually. Like, they're oi guys, but their hobby is they the one guy especially, he shreds, man. Like, and cool. They're not necessarily the most politically correct guys, but we kind of think that we want to start maybe a street and sport brand called Radical Agenda. And well, the Radical Agenda is getting all
gnarly Gnostics was taken.
Yeah, right. And getting off your devices and hitting the streets and hitting the slopes and hitting the dojo mats and just living a vital life, stuff. Like accomplishing anti-fragile hobbies.
And there's lots of shit that is way more fun as an adult to do that you did when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing it real competitively and shit, you're just doing it for the fun of it. Like it's a lot of the shit's much more fun as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Well, I carve a lot. I do like long skates, and I kind of do like the back and forth zigzag thing when I skateboard. I can't trick worth a shit, and I'll be broken for a lot longer if I fall. Right? Mm-hmm. It's just the age that I'm at. Same thing with the jujitsu. Like I'm going to kickboxing tonight, so we'll see how that pans out. Oh. But the jujitsu, every time I do jujitsu, I get fucked up. So I got to figure out which ones work for me and which ones don't. But at least I'm trying to get out and trying to do these things. I guess playing in a band is another one that's like. It's not necessarily a vital existence in the sense of I'm doing something that will secure my survival in the end times.
Everyone needs to know what I have to say forever.
Well, I guess there's that. But like building a log cabin or, learning to hunt with my bare hands and a knife or, that's real vital. Yeah. Starting fire with 2 sticks. These are vital skills that are important. But I
just like anything that that you get stoked on.
Yeah.
That I mean, that you can just throw yourself into. Because I used to do shit like that. In phases,
Yeah.
Get real fucking excited about. I guess maybe it's just the depression lately kind of keep me out of that. But I miss doing that. I miss being so fucking excited about something that you can't sleep the night before because I got this fucking big thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even get excited. Like we got shows and shit. I'm just the week of, what are we doing? You know what I mean? I don't even get amped for it, but it's still fun, still doing it. But
I think it's funny because when I got sober, where I kind of sobered up and I started getting back into my the martial arts thing, and then when I started playing the punk rock, especially with the Standard Bearer, one of my buddies, he's like, "Man, you remind me of when you were 15." And before all of whatever happened, really kind of right in my 20s and 30s, and so yeah, nearing 50, I've got that vitality going of I'm excited about doing stuff. I'm excited about meeting new people in the oi community and sharing the music and shit.
Those are the things I miss.
Mm-hmm.
And I only get them by doing the things I enjoy. Mm-hmm. As soon as I start doing any of those things we just listed, that all happens. Mm-hmm. But it's just right now it's I look forward to being cozy. You know, a day in advance. I'm like, oh man, what can I do tomorrow? I'm like, man, can you picture how cozy the bed would be? Oh,
yeah,
that's where I want to be. Part of that's the year, but it's the season right now. Yes,
that's what I was just gonna say. I you can't underestimate the effect that our environment has on us.
Our Siberian like fucking environment.
Yeah, when it's minus 35 in the morning, you want to sleep in. You don't want to have to go shovel the walk or start your car or, drive your kid to school or whatever. But you do it because it's a duty, and duties are important things to live up to. As gross as it is, right? But in exchange for those obligatory shit, you got to you get to live in a society where we have the internet and we can play in bands and we can enjoy our life. Like, this is the trade-off. You know, you have some responsibilities and you have privileges, and they go hand in hand. Yeah, on a philosophical level. You can't have privileges without responsibilities, people.
We'll see. I'm going to try.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people trying. Yeah.
But yeah, getting stoked about doing some snowboarding this season.
That's cool. It's something I'm interested in. My one buddy, he keeps trying to get me to go out to the mountain. He's convinced if I like carving on my skateboard that I'd probably love snowboarding. He's like, because there's no ollies, there's no flips, there's no, you just carve and fucking maybe do a jump or moguls or any of that stuff. You'll probably love it. And I'm like, well, maybe.
Gravity
Plus,
does do much of the work for you.
Well, gravity.
Yeah.
What is it? Plus, living in a place where we have 6 months of snow, it just makes sense to develop snow sports, And part of me, I'm like, oh, I should get a sled, but that's that mechanical trip. I have the mechanical trip during the spring and summer where I can rip around on my motorcycle. Maybe I need something a little more in touch with the snow when you're actually physically on it, And
that's why I prefer snowboarding to snowmobiling. Like, I like
you're in it.
I'm in control. I'm doing it. And way less moving parts. Way less shit you got to maintain. Way shit that can go wrong.
Yeah. I'll just like flatten a cardboard box and slide down the hill. Whee! Be that guy on the inner tube taking out people.
Yeah. Sounds like a nice time.
Yeah.
Even skiing's a good time.
Skiing scares me. Two long sticks that could cross and my knees go, at least.
To some degree, but it's like as soon as you feel the mobility of them, and like if you go with short ones, almost anybody can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you can skate at all, like on a pair like hockey skates, can you stand up?
It's been so many fucking years since
I think even if you've been on them, you're like you're ahead.
3.
Yep, good enough.
Yeah, I did skating lessons when I was 3.
You'll
3 to
have
5.
Muscle memory, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think I could roller skate. My daughter's a maniac. She's been able to find indoor parks now that she can't do outdoor park skating. So she's and like the roller skate shit, like she's really gung ho on the park skating with her roller skates, even more than derby. And park skating has helped her roller derby like crazy. So now her and her mom, they weasel their way into like these like private skate parks, like privately owned skate parks in Regina and Saskatoon. They're like, you should come. And it's interesting because watching her turning into a little shredder, it's pretty badass, and she's so stoked on learning tricks and doing tricks. And then she recently joined the wrestling squad too.
Shit.
Yeah. So I think 4 out of 5 days a week she's got wrestling practice after school for like 3:30 till 6. And they're doing like squats and like sprints and, swimming and like rolling. And she just comes home after school and she's like, and then we did double leg takedowns, Dad. And we did this. And I'm like, this is so rad because we could have conversations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
where are you getting this energy, kid?
Well, she's 14.
Kids. Yeah, right.
14. And made of rubber. Nothing's ever going to injure her. And if it does, it's cool. Look at my bruise. Yep. As opposed to, oh, my God, I can't move my arm for like a week and a half.
Yeah, I'm not proud of any of my injuries anymore.
No, I want to avoid them.
Look how injury-free I am.
Yeah, now they're all scars and stitch marks, and that's good. I've been there, done that. I don't need to do it much. I do my stuff. Like kickboxing is going to be very light contact, if not just forms and heavy bag, And... yeah, because the heavy contact stuff, I'm not built for it anymore. If the situation ever arose that I needed heavy contact, it better be a fight or flight kind of situation. I've trained long enough that I think I've got a skill set to keep me safe. And that continual sport conditioning isn't for me. I think that's a difference, especially at a certain age.
Yeah.
I'm already the peak physical condition of an alpha male, so
look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up on the internet.
Find me.
Yeah.
No, pear-shaped and 5'7". Yes. This is
pear-shaped and also covered in a fine fur.
Yes. So, anything else new other than
yeah, man, just existing, surviving, looking, living. That's pretty much. I've been super boring lately, but
no Christmas stuff going on.
Not really, because it was again we were it was 2 days after Christmas she passed.
Oh,
so
seriously?
It
was that?
Yeah, we were just dealing with that at the time. So still went and did stuff, went to dinners and shit, but I'd get a phone call halfway through and I'd be crying in the other room and like, I'm good. No, it's fine. We can stay for another 20.
That's strange. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. But fuck, like I said, I'm on the downslope of it now. I'm over the fucking shit and know what to deal with. So moving forward, moving on.
Moving up.
But yeah, what else do I know that's good? Probably fat fuck all, man.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. TV hideout, fucking not do anything.
That's too bad.
It's yeah, well.
Oh no, my band put out an EP.
There you go. See, this is the opposite. No, I guess we had one show on the 23rd there, but
Good.
Which was fun.
Feisty Ghost?
Yeah, there was no more. There's no more. It's sold now.
Oh,
so
really?
it's,
Yeah.
January 1st. So we'll see what happens with that.
Well, the guys I'm jamming with, they live over on 33rd, and they were talking about that. They're saying that in Saskatoon, as far as venues go, you got the Black Cat. And I'm like, well, there's a Feisty Goat, and it's actually pretty close. They're like, oh, it's shutting down. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's too bad. Yeah, there aren't a lot of venues, and there used to be the indoor skate park that put on gigs once in a while, and they're not doing it anymore.
We talked about it twice. Community get together, big ass indoor skate park in Saskatoon.
I even looked into the possibility of doing it privately, getting some investors, getting together, get some ramps, have a little like pro shop and like a concession. But the problem is the liability. You've got
Insurance is wild for that kind of
they
shit.
don't want kids rolling around on wheels.
Same thing with ski hills and stuff. Yeah, you pay outrageous liability insurance. Something like that, though, I think what lots of places have done is they get a sponsorship with something that's a bigger Vans or Tony Hawk fucking Skate Park Foundation or whatever.
Scotia Center skate.
Well, it could be. Yeah, get somebody who's enormous and already has liability insurance for a bunch of other shit. And then, it's like, because I think that's kind of how insurance works. The more you can pile on, the cheaper you get.
Oh, that would make sense.
So if you're just a one-off entity, they go, well, fuck you. You got to pay out the asshole.
Get sponsored by an insurance company.
Yeah. Well, hey, fuck. Why not?
Sponsored by.
Skip the middleman.
Booth Burnhout, right? Our insurance company. Well, and that's exactly it. That was the big thing. Getting the space, renting equipment, all of that is doable. All of it's doable. But the big one is the liability insurance, and like, in a generation where people are offend hungry or very interested in being injured, then I could see suing happening real quick. If little Tommy breaks his arm and his mom Karen shows up and unimpressed with how you manage this place.
That's all it takes, and then it's no more.
Yep. And so a lot of people aren't even willing to take the risk to do it because all of that stuff is so obvious that the possibilities are so obvious. It's not like, oh my God, I never thought that was going to happen. It's very obvious what might happen, when everybody's offended. I'm surprised that roller derbies can happen and that MMA gyms can get their liability when they're actually practicing punching each other and choking each other out. But they all seem to get insured, but I don't understand why it would be so unattainable for a skate thing to do it. Or I guess you said that like ski hills have a crazy liability themselves. Eh?
Yeah, maybe it's just that it is such a high rate of injury with those sports, and then it's not usually just a twisted something. It's usually something a little more substantial.
Yeah, broken ankles and things like that.
Yeah, snapped collarbones,
Yep.
twisted spines, crooked necks.
Is that skating or is it?
No, I'm just listing off things that can happen.
Oh, things that can happen. Yeah.
You can get your knees bent backwards. Yeah, that can happen. You get inverse elbows.
Inverse. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, either way, I think that something needs to happen with youth in Saskatoon during the winter months to
lock them up.
Yeah, lock them
Is that what we're saying?
right? Put them in jail.
Yeah, do something with these youths.
Well, that's what I think has been
you
happening.
can't have enough stuff for kids to do, I don't think.
Right? Like, because then they're
More
going to
the
find
merrier.
booze. They're going to find a six-pack at 13 when they can't do shit. And that welcome to Saskatchewan. 6 months of drinking, right? At least. And then you're hammered all summer because that's the only time you get to go out and you've been training for it your entire life.
Yep.
Is that all your knuckles cracking?
Yeah, I got that fucking...
Holy shit. If that comes through on the audio, that's going to be
whole
impressive.
creaky Pete. Yeah. Oops, daisy. Didn't realize I did it right there, but yeah. One of my other issues, you can get that, creaky knuckles. You can get those too.
So we got a real yin and yang vibe going on today.
Yeah, well, I know, right? I feel like I'm kind of a downer, but like I'm stoked that like you're stoked about things going on.
Here, I'll give you one of the magazines. Here. You take it home and read through.
This is a very well-made magazine.
I was surprised how well they turned out, to be perfectly honest. Of course, and it's not too ranty or too judgmental. It's definitely written from a point of view of somebody wanting to help somebody who's going through a hard time. And our entire mission statement is basically youth at risk, whether they're at risk of addiction or alcoholism or gang recruitment or radical politics recruitment, they can take charge of their own life and become their own hero of their story. That's the entire principle of the Spearhead Mag. So if anybody
well,
listens,
you know what, that sounds more like what I was just talking about too, with the more people not living like they live in a fucking video game or their favorite book.
Yeah, like if you're playing RPGs and you're the hero of that story, why don't you do that in your life and just create your own, like, I don't know, your own stuff, whatever it is, you know. And I think that's just something I've always kind of done. But apparently it got passed around at Brendo's wake when I dropped them off and got some positive feedback from people. People are sending me some messages because that's kind of it. If a guy like Brendo was going through a hard time, maybe he didn't run into the right person to say, you know what, man, I bet you could get out of this. Now, I'll give you a fair amount. I'll give a fair amount of credit to mental health, to undiagnosed mental issues, and to unmedicated mental issues. That's valid. Because if you've got some real chemical shit going on where you cannot see the light, no matter what people try to do to introduce you to an alternative viewpoint, you are stuck there. And so maybe you need that pharmaceutical boost to get out of that, you know, to get your serotonin regulated. But I think a lot of it is also just like mindset. You know, it's where people want to be and they can't figure out how they don't want to be there. You know, it's the warm blanket of depression. You ever see that Big Mouth? That
show?
I
think we were talking about this the one time, or maybe not that specific thing. I know we talked about Big Mouth
the
before,
character, the girl, she's going, her puberty monster is this like kind of voluptuous monster chick. She's like, rawr. But then this like big, soft, seductive cat comes in and it's like purple and huge and just sleep. And like that's depression.
Hello.
And and the depression just wants to cuddle with her on bed and never get out of bed. And I'm like, that's a very accurate, you know, like, because it doesn't feel bad at the time. You're like, why go anywhere? I'm comfortable here, and why go outside? Because there's only bad outside, and I'm comfortable here. And that's the same thing with addiction in my mind, you know, like, why stop doing the drugs? The drugs make me feel good. I like feeling good, and I feel bad when I'm not on drugs. Duh. Seems like a fucking simple equation.
Right? Dumb it down for you here.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes that better world comes through a little bit of going through the bad, you know, so... Yeah. And those people that
I'm due for a really good world, I think.
I think so. Those people that have hit rock fucking bottom and they're like, can't see the light, appreciate the light as it gets brighter in their life. Yeah. A little bit of light seems like, wow, that's pretty cool. Wow, this is really cool. And once they get to that normal operating state, they're like, this is fucking paradise. You know, I never knew it could be this good, as opposed to like the optimist who is always like gets dropped down to normal life. They're like, this is so oppressive. I can't believe people endure this. I'm pretty happy to have a job and not hate life, you know?
Well, you know what? I've been there a few times too, where it's like, this is pretty goddamn good in comparison. So, and I still have the little moments of that. One of my favorites is like just with being with my dogs. I always try to be really in the moment when I'm with them. And like the old lady will always give me a hard time. She's like, why do you always let them like lick you up inside your nose and in your ears? And I'm like, well, because one day they won't be able to.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, yeah, it's annoying, but it's like, I'm going to miss the fuck out of this one day though. So it's like, whatever. I'll take a nose full of dog sliver. Slibber? Snot. Whatever comes over the end of a dog into my nose.
When I think in traditional cultures, there was a pattern that everybody tended to follow. Like we are young, we crazy, we go through our period of mania, and then we meet our partner, we make a baby, and hey, look, we have a baby, and then we make another baby, we have a baby, and now we're adults, and our kids are like growing up, and we kind of get into that semi-retirement phase, and that's just the order that things worked in. That was the traditional thing, and everything, there was a long lineage of people that would say, this is what to expect, and this is how to deal with your marital issues, or any of that stuff. But within the last, I don't know, maybe 40 years, everything's kind of gone topsy-turvy, like beyond what we could even expected. We don't want families anymore. We don't believe in spirituality anymore.
It can change dramatically throughout your life. You talk to anybody who's in their 60s or 70s or 80s now, And it's like, so did everything just kind of stay on track? You just stayed with the same person right from high school? And it's like, yeah, a couple of them will be, but lots of them are like, no, holy fuck, the places I ended up.
Well,
I had no idea I'd be there. It was never part of the plan or the goal, but like, here's where I ended up.
Well, okay, so this is, I wonder about this a lot. I do, because I know that, okay, I know old gay men that had to endure.
I'm listening.
Yeah, right. Had to endure living an entire life a lie in order to fit into a structure. I know that, you know. We stare at Russ. No, just joking. No, living in their entire life, they had to go into loveless marriages for appearances only, and they had to con their wife to say, oh, yeah, I guess we're having sex again, you know, and maybe even make babies because they couldn't be who they wanted to be. I get that. And
sorry, you know who that was a golden time for, though? The beards. Those big fat women they were married to.
Oh,
they were just like, I know he doesn't love me, but I'm kind of getting everything I want out of this.
Yeah, I got a house. I got a hardworking husband. I got the,
right.
you know.
He hasn't beat the shit out of me like everybody else.
No. He's just like, doesn't fuck me.
So yeah, when they want to make America great again, I think that's exactly who they're thinking of, is middle class beards.
Beards?
Yeah,
I've never heard this term.
Oh, that's like a woman who is a partner to a gay man.
She makes somebody masculine.
Well, I don't know if that's
she's a beard.
I don't know if that's the case. I guess, but you know what? I guess it would be like putting on a beard makes you a man. You bring this woman with you. Maybe that's the origin of that.
I think that's probably where it came from. I think I've heard that before.
But no, I've heard that term used for that specifically.
And in those eras,
the beard life,
there was a lot of long-term monogamous marriages between heterosexual couples that were largely unfulfilling near the end, and I get that. Such is the way of duty. I don't know anybody whose sacrifice is part of their life for the greater good that really enjoys what they have to sacrifice. But in the last so long, I don't know when, you know, like maybe let's just run with it 100 years, like, or industrial revolution or whatever. There's been the move away from those traditions towards what I want to do is more important than what I should be doing. You know what I mean? And or than what keeps everybody together. And you see it in the Vax kind of argument, my freedoms, my liberties, fuck the community, right? And I'm like, the community's sometimes bigger than you.
That's kind of the definition of a community, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is
bigger than the individual.
But there's so many people that are very obsessed with themselves, their wants, their pleasures, their needs, their you know what offends their ego boundaries, and so I see this a lot. The balance between the individual thinking that they're the ultimate important thing, and they put everybody else on the back burner, like order of society. And then when society's like, well, hey, what's happening to society? Well, you got all these people that are individualists running around thinking that what is important for them is the only thing that's important. And I think that's kind of fucked when we can look back and say, wow, everybody is important. Everybody's important, but the structures that make our society.
That's like it's to me. It almost feels almost like it's like a bunch of people that hadn't seen the Matrix, and then they saw the Matrix, and they're like, "No, wait a minute, we're all Neos. Everybody's number one, right?
Everybody's a Neo.
The whole world's built around me." Whereas before that, like the concept of
the
just
world
being
is
part
built
of
around me,
being part of the greater good, right? Being a cog was a proud thing.
Yes,
you're like, no, I'm part of this big goddamn machine. Look at this big machine's doing, and I'm helping go.
That's a very Japanese way of looking at it.
Kind of,
right? Yeah. You're part of a noble corporation, even if you're just the guy who cleans garbage.
Yes. And there's pride in that. Where instead of like, it became like, well, no, I don't want to. I can start out as a garbage guy. That's fine. But like, there's going to be a tragedy that happens, and I get superpowers eventually, and because I'm the star of my own movie, right?
Or I'm going to be a millionaire. Or I'm going to be that.
I'll figure out some way to
successful
hack the system, and then all of a sudden I'll go from like stuck in my doldrum life to like I can make millions just doing this. I'll be a TikTok star.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is it.
I could be Jake Paul.
This is Jake Paul's perfect example. These are the people that are the celebrities. These are the aristocracy of the modern age. The TikTok influencers, the Instagram influencers. That's the goal. You don't have to have anything of substance to give anybody.
Beautiful time to be alive.
Oh, it's something. It's something. I try not to get sucked in. I try to ride on top of it.
The golden age of getting sucked in.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. You know, when you think about
keep
it,
doing that for the rest of this.
The golden age of arguing with Pat. I was just going to say that the times that we've actually gotten in some pretty heated debate are the times that we both have vested interests on opposite sides of an issue. And we've been sucked into the issue. We like, this is right and this is wrong. And like, we're not having a conversation anymore. We're actually holding stances, right? And that's getting sucked in. And my girl, and we talk about this a lot. And she's like, the more you can ride on top, the happier you're going to be.
Yeah.
You know, roll with the punches, row your boat down the stream gently, you know, not against the current, just go with the current and steer which areas you need to
That's
go.
my go limp in the car crash.
Yes, that's why I love that
Ragged
metaphor.
all through it.
Yeah, the more you try and resist against it, the more things are going to get broken, man. Just roll with it. And I think that's what I have to do with contemporary society and the issues that I have in contemporary society that I see happening. There's only so much one man's rage and frustration is going to resonate out. And you know what? And my issues with society are the result of everybody thinking their rage and frustration is going to make a difference. And everybody's raging and frustrated, and they aren't working towards improving their own lives.
No.
They're just screaming about what's wrong. And yeah, I don't know. And I'm starting to move towards the idea that order and community and the collective is important. You know, the collective is important, whether it's a nation or humanity or an ecosystem. It is important, and we need to look bigger than just ourselves. Yeah. And that's my TED Talk for today. Fuck, you listen to a podcast, you get my opinion.
That's my turd talk. Yeah.
Turd talks. More girth than length this time.
Jesus. All right, I'm on board.
And they call that surfing the Kali Yuga, right? The Kali Yuga in Hindu philosophy is like the reversal of values. And just, it's happened. It's going to happen. It's going to continue until things fall apart. So just surf on top. Don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in.
Yeah, keep your eye on the fucking horizon so you can see where you're goddamn going.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's been my tough thing through this time, too, is there's been lots of other things that are not attached to the tragedy that we're dealing with that seems to come up when every time there's a fucking family-related tragedy. So it's, trying to rise above that shit and just get, I'm going to fucking stay up here, keep my eye on the fucking horizon, and ride this out, and then it'll be fine.
I really like the idea of finding something that you could put on the horizon, and then that is it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I have trouble with, too, is like, what's the goal after all this? Even just keeping paddling. Look, I know I have to paddle right now, but it's like, how long do you have to do it for? Where are you going? I don't know yet. I'm just keeping going right now. But
well, little ones. Like we got a couple drummers that we're trying out. We're going to try and maybe talk to Mr. Mike Lefebvre and maybe do a proper demo of our favorite songs, you know, and then maybe shop around, see if any labels are interested in putting out something or getting us on a compilation or two. That's my big goal is getting on a compilation.
Right? Good ways to get your fucking music out, though.
See, and I
love compilations.
Yeah, well, for sure. That's how you find bands you like. You know, you got 10 bands of different. Or 10 songs from different bands. Well, this one I don't like, but this one, who are these guys? You know, Graham and I, when we did the radio show, that was our go-to. We would go to punk stores in Seattle or Edmonton or wherever we could find. Like Winnipeg used to have a really good music city with an underground. It was all like underground music, and we would come back with comps and say, play it on the radio. Oh, this is like, it's handy, it's radio, it's one song. But eventually we found the music that we really liked through all of the compilations. Like, this band kicks ass, this one not so much, but who are these guys and what sounds like this? And that's how we really found the stuff that we liked.
Yeah, there's liner notes. Fucking
Perfect
go through
example.
the CD, go see who they were touring with.
Yep,
go and find out. I loved it. I love me some music. I guess that has been the one good thing lately. We've been playing some music. We've been writing, working on some stuff. Our new stuff I've all been pretty happy with, and learning a couple new covers. We're doing a Rocket Man cover, the Elton John.
That's
you know what I mean?
ambitious, isn't it?
Not really. No. Not the way we do it. Seems like it would be, but then you hear it and you go, oh, yeah, that's fine. I get that. I have heard that song before.
I know that. Rocket Man.
Do you like that? I've heard that song before.
Well, you know, it's funny. My brother's a pretty perfectionist when he comes to playing music and recording music. And there's a couple songs that bands that we were in wanted to cover, and he's like, "We're not touching that. We're not touching that." I'm like, "Why not?" And he's like, "So and so won't be able to play it perfectly." And I'm like, "Well, I guess that's the technical aspect versus with me, I'm like the good enough punk rock aspect. You know, I'm like, hey man, just play something that sounds like it." Yep. As opposed to,
I just kind of want to make it my own a little bit too, anyways, because I'm like, for some stuff, if it's like, you know, right on how you sound, then it's okay. You can make it sound like it. But like, if it's somebody I don't fucking sound anything like, well, it's a real pain in the ass for me to try and sing like that.
Vocalist.
I want to do it my way then.
Or if a band has like a crazy tech drummer and your drummer isn't as tech, he doesn't need to be as tech. As long as it's a 4/4, like like it doesn't know like like doesn't need all of that, man. Like, sure, cool. If you're gonna do a recording and you want to do a real homage to it, then do it perfectly. But otherwise, get the Cliff Notes version down. Get it out there. This is our version. Raw.
Yeah. I agree.
It's like the music style that we play is oi, right? Which is a really rudimentary, stripped down version of punk rock. And I'm trying to explain that in tattoo terms to people. I'm like, well, you know how there's like people that do portraits and crazy fancy work that like, holy shit, I can't believe they did that. We're like the traditional American, our very rudimentary flag and a rudimentary skull, and that's it. You know, it's just like, it looks like maybe your grade 6 kid drew it.
But you understand what it is. You get the outline of it.
It's sing-along, simple punk rock. You know?
Yep.
Definitely not tech. And it's funny because we tried out this drummer guy, and he's used to playing like technical thrash and death metal and black metal. And he's like, well, I could play hardcore too. And this won't be a problem. It's like, yeah, and it wasn't a problem. But I'm at the point where it's like, just because you can play it doesn't mean you want to play it. And I would rather play with somebody who's not as good, who wants to play it, than somebody who's like super good, who can, I will play it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm up in the air about that. But we'll see how it all pans out.
I'm glad you're still pursuing it. That's a tricky thing to do, trying to get a fucking bunch of people together in one room and all in the same wavelength to play some music.
Yeah. See, and that's the one thing I like about Standard Bearer, because it was my project. I did like 2 albums on my own, playing everything and recording the drums and stuff. And now, as everybody starts kind of joining, I'm like, okay, this is the direction we're going in. It's a one-man project. I'll kick you the fuck out.
Just being upfront.
I have a vision. That's kind of it. People don't want to compromise their vision when they have a vision. And
if you want to get something done, though, you need one of those in the group.
Yeah.
You need somebody in the fucking group who's kind of like, look, I'm just going to take the fucking reins on this. You guys can all have input, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to change up the riff and it sounds okay, that's cool. If it sounds okay.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around.
No.
Yeah, we're not playing metal. We're not, playing new metal or Korn or any of that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, yeah. So what, you figured, do this a couple weeks? Can you think we can get around in a couple weeks again?
I think so.
Yeah.
We should be able to do it. Things are getting back to normal again for me, like I said. So I should have some stories.
Okay.
Maybe some snowboarding adventures before then.
For sure. My daughter got a weighted blanket. And I'm like, that's the worst thing ever. It's like you don't want to move out from under it. It's like, it literally holds you in place.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get you out from under the blanket in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, out of blanket me. Zip me out of the sleeping bag.
A little shorter than normal,
Roll
but
me
yeah.
into a fucking duvet. Slap me into an Afghan.
Holy shit. All right. Peace, love,
Put
and
me in the
granola.
bunk bed. Yeah. All right. Good talking to you.
Have a good one.
Bye.